You take the grape off the vine, add a little
When the guitar-playing Robert Hubele first heard the blues, it was Eric Burdon singing House of the Rising Sun on the radio. At the time, Hubele had no idea what blues were all about, really, but he was immediately hooked on the sounds. Hubele is one of Canada's hardworking, self-taught jazz musicians, a songwriter too. His new album is Highway of Dreams, in 2 weeks, Highway of Dreams. It is my pleasure to welcome Robert Hubele to Studio 4 to tell us more.
Thank you very much.
So, an Alberta boy, born in Ontario, raised in Alberta, picked up the guitar when?
When I was 21, actually, a girlfriend gave it to me as she was headed out the door. I think it was the shape. It gave me something to hold on to, you know.
Probably, instead of the girlfriend.
Yeah.
Yes. So, who taught you to play? Just you?
Just me. Well, I lived in a commune for a while, and one of the guys in the commune was a guitar player, and he was very patient, spent hours playing rhythm tracks while I fiddled around over top of it. But generally, I picked it all up on my own.
And you had an amp or something somewhere?
Well, I started off.
Or was that later?
Yeah, it was later. I started off with an acoustic guitar, and wasn't until I took up with a band that I switched to electric.
And what was it about the blues, jazz, that called to you?
There was something that I've been thinking back, and I think it was my aunt when I was very little. And one of the songs she just loved was Bill Bailey, Won't You Please Come Home?
Won't you please come home?
And she used to sing that at the top, and she'd get us all singing. And I think it was just that sort of provided the seed. But there's something that had always grabbed me about it. And I'd had no real connection with the Delta or anything else.
Right, and you weren't in Nashville, and you weren't in New Orleans, and you were in Cochrane, Alberta.
Yeah.
Where there are a lot of heavy equipment operators, I understand, because you did that.
Yeah, and cowboys.
Worked in steel and cowboys,
yeah.
But the blues call to you. Blues calls to workers.
Yeah, well, and that's right. It's one of the simplest musics to learn, and one of the hardest to play properly. It's because it's all very simple chords. Generally, with blues, it's very simple chord structures and chord changes, but the ability to smear those chords and those notes and is what really is attractive
to hit the magic,
in the blues.
the B.B. King magic, you might call it.
Yeah.
You bet. But love and harmony run through many of your songs.
Yeah, I try to put, for about the last 5 or 6 years, we'd taken a series of personal growth seminars called the Landmark Seminars.
All right. Is that part of Pursuit of Excellence?
No,
different.
It's fairly different. It works on people interfacing with other people in the world in a positive way. And
that's good.
And so.
Could you work on the Canucks tonight?
Well, I hope some of them have taken it, because it makes a big difference in the way you do think about the world and the way you interact with other people, and also it made a big change in the way I wrote. And I thought that there's so much bad news everywhere you look. Nobody focuses on positive messages, and so my thrust was to try and work positive messages into the songs that I write, and so I try and do that with everything that I put down now.
Well, I haven't had the pleasure of listening to Highway of Dreams, but I heard you earlier this morning in our studio, and let's take a listen to Red, Red Wine.
All right.
Okay.
You take the grape off the vine, add a little sunshine, give it some time. You got a little red wine, so fine, white wine too. Well, take 2 martinis and a girl and me, and put her by the pool in a white bikini. So fine, sweet time, white wine too. And it's true, that it do seem to set the tone of the evening, drinking Dom Perignon from your slippers at dawn, for that touch of class, one crystal glass, of that red wine, so fine, white wine too. Pay no attention to social conventions, serve red chill and white just at root. Yeah, red wine, so fine, white wine too. Though there does seem to be some contention about what wine does what for whom. Red wine, yeah, so fine, white wine too. Well, give me that red wine, so fine, white wine too. Yeah, red wine, so fine, white wine too. Oh, give me red wine too. Oh, give me white wine too. I tell you the truth, any wine will do.
And the dulcet tones of Robert Burton Hubele with Brad Steckel. And by the way, it's not Red Red Wine. That was by UB40,
That's
as
right.
I recall.
Yeah.
But I know the words to that, but I've never heard red wine. So I guess you couldn't call it Red Red Wine or they'd call you up.
Oh, yeah.
Say that's taken.
Yeah.
When you write a song, where do you start? Walking on the beach, sitting in a studio, being in a moment?
They've come from everywhere, but generally I have to have all my chores done, nobody home, and I sit down and turn on the TV, and then I just start writing.
Really? Turn on the TV?
Yeah.
So TV's on and you're writing music?
Mm-hmm. That's the way I've always done it. Well,
Really?
I grew up in a household with 7 brothers and sisters, and it was a small house, and so we had the TV on all the time, and it was like one more guest in the house, and so we did everything. I wrote all my term papers with the TV going, and
Yes.
7 other people plus their friends making comments. And
So you could work anywhere, is what you're saying?
yeah, and
Because you're used to noise. 7 brothers and sisters?
yeah,
Really?
yeah. I'm
Where
the
were you in
oldest.
the pecking order?
I'm the oldest.
So that means you were part father, part mother too, right?
Yeah.
When you're the oldest of 8?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And we moved around an awful lot, back and forth between Ontario and Alberta, mainly. And so we were our own play bunch, you know. We were our own best friends.
I guess so, like the
Yeah.
gang.
Yeah, and we still hang together.
And
you
mom and
know.
dad together with the gang traveling the country. What did your dad do or your mom do?
Well, my dad was he was always looking for a better job, and he was a master mechanic, a master carpenter, and a master diesel mechanic, and so he'd get a job in Ontario, and then a year later he'd apply for a bunch, and he'd get a better job in Calgary, and then we'd go back to Ontario, and so we went back and forth, I think, about 6 or 7 times.
Really?
I was in like 13 schools in 12 years.
Which makes you sociable,
Yeah.
pretty
yeah.
much. When you have to break in, you know, new boy.
Yeah. Well,
At
and I
least-
was a real little guy, so I learned to have a really quick mouth. You know, I'd find the biggest, meanest guy in the school and cozy up to him, and make friends, and it
Of course
usually
you
worked.
Now, the songs on this particular album, Highway of Dreams, who inspired them?
Oh, my wife. I write all my love songs for her. Yeah.
Really? Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you don't, you can't admit it.
Yeah.
Right?
that's-
Because that wouldn't work so well at home.
Not very
You say,
well,
I was
no.
thinking about her, but I was writing about you, or something like that. Don't you know? Tell me about the songs on Highway of Dreams.
Well, I put them together. There's some that I've been doing for quite a long time. I think 5 of them were recorded last August, or July or last August, at my friend Brad Steckel's studio in Calgary.
And Steckel's a guitarist?
He's wonderful guitar, string player, and a marvelous producer. And we've been working together 30 years now. He worked as the guitar player on my very first album with Attic Records back in 1984, and which we released. I think we finally released it in 1988, and we've been together ever since. He and I just have a real simpatico. He knows where I'm going with the stuff,
right.
and he's very tasty, so he never overplays, and he's always keeps a very tight arrangement.
And you know he's a good producer because you said he's a really good producer. What does a good producer do?
Well,
a T-Bone Burnett or somebody like that.
They're able to get the best performance out of you that you can do, and as far as arranging, he's excellent at adding just the instrumentation that we need, just what will move the song forward. And we had an agreement many years ago, which we've always kept to, and that is that we'll only use what moves the song forward. We don't add extra, and we don't try and pull away back to an acoustic. I tried an acoustic album, and I was never really happy with being purely acoustic. So
right.
Brad is able to add just those flourishes that really make the song, and he takes what is a great song and turns it into something superlative.
Right, and a great song tells a story of sorts.
Mm-hmm. All my songs are strong story songs. I come up with, when I've come up with the first two lines, it spawns the story in my head, and there's always a strong story that runs through it. So I don't really write in the pop vein, in that I do a lot of repetition of lines and whatnot. I try and write it as a small enclosed story, like a little book.
Right.
That follows with the
And
music.
so the title track on Highway of Dreams?
Yeah, Highway of Dreams.
Highway of Dreams. And what's that about?
Well, that was a wonderful story. My sister Evelyn, who is an absolutely superlative ceramic artist, she's a ceramic designer now and sells out of Liberty of London, and she wanted to move to Vancouver. She wanted to start a new life out here.
Right.
And so she enrolled my brother Barry and myself and my sister Elaine, and we packed up a big 7-ton truck, because I was a driver, so I know how to drive. And we spent 2 days driving out from Alberta, and we just had a wonderful time. My brother and I were partying all the way, and we had walkie-talkies so we could keep in touch with my sisters in the other car. And the Highway of Dreams is just about that, because it really was leading her into she had no idea where it was going.
So
or
a
what was
sibling
here.
reunion of sorts, but a highway of dreams and all of that. And do you have a dream gig or a dream job? You're doing it now, what?
Well, I've just started really doing it again, and I've got a really good management team. I've got a good business coach, and and we've got some good radio promo people working on this new album. So I've never really gone full out with it,
Right.
And
but now's the time. That's
now's
that
the
landmark
time.
training or something. Somebody
Yes.
said, follow your dream.
That's exactly right.
Do what you're meant to do.
Yes, and that's exactly. I thought, well, now is the time.
From steel-toed boots to a steel guitar, or something like that.
Yeah, I've made a lot of albums. I've made 9 albums, but usually it was on the bare edge of possibility, and so we never had any money to promote or whatnot. So I've made sure to cover all that this time. I really feel good, and it's a great collection of songs.
Well, thank you for singing Red Wine,
Oh.
One Red Wine, and you sang a little bit about white wine in there too. So Robert Hubele performance, are you performing somewhere?
The next performance I'll be doing is at the Sylvia Hotel Lounge on May 31st.
Okay.
And the album comes out, and it's available on my website on May 1st.
Great.
So
Thank you.
thank you.
Follow the highway. Robert Hubele.